All right. Good morning, everybody. This is going to be a early bird video. Um, I woke up this morning and I said to myself, I really want to do this video now while everything is fresh in my head. I'm so excited about this fight that's going to happen this Saturday between Teofimo Lopez and Vasyl Lomachenko. And I know later today we're going to talk about the fight. We're going to preview the fight, Eric and I, on the Ringside Reporter podcast at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. But I just want to make sure that I did this video now while these thoughts were fresh in my head. And I know a lot of people were asking me my thoughts on this fight, and a lot of people were requesting that I do a video on this fight. And well, here it is. Now, to me, this fight reminds me of a cobra versus a mongoose. Now, both the mongoose and the cobra have speed. But speed, I think, can be measured in a lot of different ways, just like strength can be measured in a lot of different ways. You could be strong physically, but weak mentally. You could be strong in terms of stamina, or you could be strong in terms of fast twitch explosiveness. Now, obviously, Mike Tyson can punch harder in his prime than Arnold Schwarzenegger could. But if you put both of them on a bench and you asked them to bench press the most they could bench, obviously Arnold Schwarzenegger would be able to bench more than Mike Tyson in his prime. But that's neither here nor there. So the mongoose versus the cobra. Let me explain. Now, when you watch a mongoose go up against a cobra, mongoose is probing from the outside and he's trying to get in range so he could strike on the cobra. And when he strikes on that cobra, he has to continuously like peck away, peck away, peck away, peck away, and soften that cobra up. And eventually he's got to latch onto that cobra's neck. And it takes a while for him to render that cobra incapacitated. It takes a long time for him to take that cobra out. It's a process because he's smaller, his bites are less lethal, and he has to peck away, peck away, peck away. As I said, that cobra kind of lays back in the cut. He's waiting for that mongoose to strike. And as soon as that mongoose strikes, he reacts to whatever that mongoose does. So you can argue that, like I said, both are fast, but the cobra has a quicker reaction time. And once that cobra does bite that mongoose, because of the venom that cobra has in his teeth, one bite is lethal, and that's all it takes. And then you see that mongoose just kind of go limp, and it's over. That's what this fight reminds me of. You got a guy like Lomachenko, very fast on his feet, very fast with his hands. Probes from the outside, likes to go in and out, ambush attack, similar to Manny Pacquiao. Both of those guys are kind of pattern fighters, meaning they do the same thing over and over again, but they're just so fast, it's hard for their opponents to react to what they're doing and be able to time it and be able to render their attacks useless. In other words, it's hard for their opponents because they're at such a speed disadvantage to be successful against guys like Manny Pacquiao and Lomachenko because they just don't have the physical abilities to deal with that. Okay, so it's all about reaction time. And when you look at this fight, both guys have speed, okay? But once again, you can be fast and you can be quick. Beeb, what are you talking about? Fast, quick, same thing. No. Fast is when you get a guy that can run a 40 in, under 4 seconds, whatever. He's running. That's it. It's a accentuated, extended movement. Okay. Whereas quick, you got a guy on a basketball court. And he's guarding somebody. And you got a guy trying to go around that guy. He just makes a quick step, cuts you off at the pass. Little short, abbreviated, explosive, quick movements. That's quickness. Okay. Quickness is more reaction time, where speed is just, athleticism, running, being quick, just being naturally having, just being fast at what you do. It's more extended, accentuated, elongated movements. Okay, where quickness is just short, quick bursts of speed. Where just being fast is you're just fast. You're just a fast guy running. You could move your hands fast, whatever. But quickness is just having that quick reaction time. Meaning, where if you're driving a car and a cat jumps out in front of you, how you react to stopping that car, that's quickness. That's reaction time. Okay. Whereas if you're standing on the side of that street and you run out to grab that cat and run back, that's being fast. So there's a difference. And I think Lomachenko is fast. And I think Teofimo is quick. Because the thing about Teofimo is, to me, he has an extraordinary reaction time. And how does that play into his boxing style? And how does this play into this fight? Well, every fighter makes mistakes. And it's up to his opponents to capitalize and exploit those mistakes. And the good fighters and the exceptional fighters, when they make mistakes, they give you that little opening, that little window, that little opening of the window of time where you can capitalize on those mistakes. And a guy like Teofimo Lopez, if you make a mistake against him for a split second, because his reaction time is so quick, he can capitalize on those mistakes. Now, look, Lomachenko likes to move a lot from the outside. He probes. But Teofimo Lopez is a little bit more methodical. He has the ability to fight at a more methodical pace, and he can get a lot more out of doing a lot less, whereas Lomachenko is a volume guy that does a lot of excessive movements. Now, like I said, he's a pattern fighter like Manny Pacquiao is. So what does that mean, Beeb? Well, when you watch Manny Pacquiao, he used to come in and attack on angles. But there was a lot of things that he did repetitively. Like he would give you that pump fake before he threw that left hand. And a lot of times before he would throw that left hand, he would always step off to the left when he threw his straight left, which was totally unorthodox from what most fighters do. In other words, if you're going to throw a straight left or a straight right, you move in the direction. So if you're going to throw a straight right, you move to your left. If you're going to throw a straight left, you move to your right. So you go in that direction of the punch. He went in the opposite direction. So he did a very unorthodox thing, Manny Pacquiao, but he did it repetitively. So more often than not, every time he would throw that left hand, he would step to the left and throw that left hand. He would always give you that pump fake, and he would shoot that left hand in there before the pump fake. And Marquez used to always time that pump fake. He used to know that when Manny Pacquiao would come forward, he would slide back half step and wait for him. And then when Manny Pacquiao went back out to reset, he would follow him. So these are patterns. Lomachenko, what I noticed the pattern with him is he moves from side to side, but every time he attacks, he always goes to the center of the pocket and goes mid-range, and that's when he throws his flurry combinations. Whereas Manny Pacquiao, a lot of times he would come in from the angle. Lomachenko moves side to side, but he always comes to the center and then moves in straight before he throws the flurry of combinations. So these are patterns. And I'm not trying to oversimplify what these guys do because, again, timing is everything. And with timing, a big part of timing is reaction time. So Lopez has that reaction time. You look back at his last fight against Richard Comey, which I thought was going to be a much, much, much more competitive fight than it was. And I even thought Comey won the first round. But even with saying that, Lopez had that look of confidence in his face, meaning, okay, this was a fail-out round, whatever. But once again, Comey gave Lopez that small little opening for a split second. And Lopez just was like, threw a little short corkscrew of a right hand, didn't even really fully extend on it. It didn't need much space. And it was such a shortened movement, but he was still able to land that punch perfectly and land it effectively and put Comey down and significantly hurt him where he could not recover. Like the Cobra. The Cobra stings you, and it's like that paralyzing effect. Once the Cobra bites the mongoose just goes limp. When Lopez hits guys with either hand, you see the reaction, and they go limp. And it's like they got like hit with a cattle prong, and they just get shocked, and they're like, and they go down. That's a gift. Now, Deontay Wilder, you can argue, had that gift with the right hand, but I see guys get hit by Teofimo Lopez. No matter what hand, no matter what punch he throws, no matter where he hits them, I see that reaction time and time again from guys that he has fought. They just go limp. He just automatically incapacitates them, shuts down their nervous system. Boom. It's because his reaction time is so quick. I see him, a guy will just make a mistake for a split second, and he'll just throw like boom, like that with his left hand. Boom. It's such a short, crisp, explosive movement. That's quickness. Whereas Lomachenko's he's fast. It's like blah, 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 blah. Like he fully extends on all his punches. He's moving in and out, gets in position quick. That's being fast. But Teofimo Lopez is quick. He has an extraordinary, superhuman level reaction time. And I can't remember ever seeing a guy with as quick as reaction time as Teofimo Lopez. I haven't seen a guy, I can't remember seeing a guy. This, again, you could sit there and break down this fight. You could look at resumes. Both guys only have 15 fights, but obviously Lomachenko, being a champion in 3 weight classes, fighting guys like, Nicholas Waters, Gary Russell, Pedraza, Linares, Campbell, Rocky Martinez, fought a lot of good guys, fought more solid guys than Teofimo Lopez. We can't argue that, and we'd be a fool to try to argue that, okay? But when we look at Teofimo Lopez's resume, the guys knocked out 80% of the guys he fought. Lomachenko knocked out 66% of the guys he fought. And Lomachenko's a guy, doesn't have that one-punch knockout power, doesn't have that punch like Teofimo Lopez has with either hand, where when he hits a guy, the guy just shuts down, his nervous system just gets short-circuited, and he goes limp, and he's done. Lomachenko is more of a guy that just breaks guys down and wears them, and just breaks them down mentally and wears them down, because he has such a constant, steady, high-volume attack. Whereas Teofimo Lopez has a more methodical attack. But once again, every fighter makes a mistake in a fight. And when you're dealing with, this is high-level chess, what we're dealing with right here. Again, you can point to the resumes. You can point to the resumes, whatever you want to say about the resumes. We're not going to We're not going to sit here and try to argue that you can compare Teofimo Lopez's resume to Vasyl Lomachenko. But to me, this fight is more than resume. This is just looking at both guys, what they're able to do, assessing their styles, assessing their strengths and weaknesses, and just looking at this fight and breaking down this fight based on ability, not just mental ability, but physical ability, and how it all meshes together in the grand scheme of things come fight night. And both guys are gifted, okay? But once again, when I watch Teofimo Lopez fight, that quality that he has with the reaction time, and you couple that up with his power, his explosiveness, his strength, and his ability to utilize all those physical gifts. To me, that those qualities that he has are unmatched. They're unmatched. I can't really look at a guy in today's sport and say, wow, he has as quick as reaction time as this guy. And with that reaction time, it's magnified by his explosiveness and his power. So this guy's a dangerous guy. He's a dangerous guy. So my assessment here primarily is based off of the eye test. Sometimes you just look at a guy and you say, this guy is special. I don't care who he fought, because everybody fights nobodies until they fight somebody. We all know that, and again, I think a resume is an important tool in you could use to assess a fighter, and it's a good measuring stick. But to me, sometimes I just look at the eye test and it trumps resume. And in this case, the eye test is going to trump resume. I think sometimes people overrate Lomachenko's resume because he fought a lot of good guys, a lot of solid guys, but he never fought, in my estimation, an elite guy. It's not his fault because there really weren't any elite guys and aren't really any elite guys around right now in his weight classes. So I could make an argument that all the guys on Vasyl Lomachenko's resume, Teofimo Lopez could beat. And I could also make an argument that, I hold Richard Comey in high regard. He's a very solid guy. He's a tough out for anyone. And I thought that was going to be a tough fight for Teofimo Lopez. And the way he handled Richard Comey, Teofimo Lopez, the way Teofimo Lopez handled Richard Comey, it was extremely impressive to me. And I think that Richard Comey would have probably went the distance against a guy like Vasyl Lomachenko. Very well may have lost. He probably would have lost, but I don't think he would have got taken out the way Teofimo Lopez took him out. So when I look at this fight, I just see Teofimo Lopez being just as equal in the speed department, but I give him a huge advantage in the reaction time, the offensive and defensive reflexes. And when you have a fight like this with two highly skilled fighters, it's all about who makes the first mistake, the most mistakes, and how bad the mistakes that they make are, and how the other guy, the opponent, is able to capitalize and exploit the mistakes. And when you have a guy that has a one-hitter quitter like Teofimo Lopez, you have a guy that is able to capitalize on a mistake when it's there for a millisecond, whereas other fighters can't capitalize on that mistake. When you have a guy that has a lot of mental strength, a lot of rage inside him, and even the size advantage. Lomachenko is listed at 5'7", but to me, he looks more along the lines of 5'5.5", 5'6". His frame is tiny. Arguably, he's not even really a 135-pounder. And he even admitted that himself. Whereas you look at a guy like Teofimo Lopez, this is a physical specimen. This is a big, muscular, thick guy. He's listed at 5'8". You can even argue he's probably taller than that. When you see these two guys together, Teofimo Lopez looks like a junior welterweight, arguably a welterweight, and Lomachenko looks like a featherweight, junior featherweight. And why does size matter here? Well, because speed is equal. If not, I would even give a slight edge to Teofimo in speed. In terms of reaction time, explosiveness, I think he can generate much more power than Lomachenko. And if Lomachenko isn't able to break down Teofimo Lopez, put doubt in his mind, frustrate him mentally, like he was able to do to all these other guys, because the majority of Vasyl Lomachenko's wins were more or less him demoralizing his opponents, breaking them down mentally, making them have that self-doubt, saying to themselves, no matter what I do, I can't pin this guy down. Teofimo Lopez is a different animal. He's a different animal. The level of self-belief this guy has, the inner rage. To Teofimo Lopez, this fight is everything. This is his life. He's going to approach this fight and enter this fight as if his life depended on it, where Lomachenko is looking at this fight as just another day at the office. So the stakes are much higher for a guy like Teofimo Lopez. He has a resentment towards Lomachenko. This is personal to him. And when you look at Lomachenko's last couple fights, I think Pedraza had some good moments in that fight. He was able to exploit some weaknesses from Lomachenko. He had some success from the outside. He was able to keep Lomachenko out of that mid-range area where he's most dangerous. And he was able to have some success with the jab from the outside and landed some good right hands. Linares was able to drop him. He waited for him. Like I told you, Lomachenko, pattern fighter, moves side to side to side to side to side, but always stops in the middle and shoots in straight. Doesn't come in from the angle. Stops in the middle, shoots in straight, mid-range, right in that middle of the pocket, just close enough where he can land his shots. Not a great inside fighter, not a great outside fighter. Boop, boop, move side to side, outer edge, shoot in straight. Doesn't come in from the angle. Linares waited. As soon as he stopped in the middle, waited for him, shot the right hand. And here's the difference. Teofimo Lopez waits, and he can wait in time because he's got, again, extraordinary reaction time. That's what you need to beat a guy with speed. Reaction time, right? Timing. Reaction time is timing, right? Okay. Now you could have the difference between Marquez and Teofimo was Marquez already had the data in his head. So what Marquez did was more or less what a batter does against a fastball pitcher. He is able to time. He knows he has a feeling for how fast that pitch is. And a lot of times he'll start the swing earlier, try to get ahead of it. So Marquez was able to get ahead of the fastball because he knew what Manny Pacquiao was going to do. So that was just more or less muscle memory. Whereas Teofimo Lopez, again, is just that quick where his instincts are on another level. They're just on another level. So he's able to react. He's able to react so quick without having the data. He doesn't need the data. Where guys like Marquez, Floyd Mayweather, they're collecting the data. This guy can extemporaneously, drop of the dime, just react to things superhumanly. Now, a lot of these things I'm saying, you guys are like, Beeb, what are you talking about? Like in your opinion, I would venture to suspect you thinking that I'm making a lot of hyperbolic statements right here about Teofimo Lopez. But again, because I'm so interested in this fight, okay, I studied both guys up and down, watched fights over and over again. And people want to sit there and look at that Salido fight, and they just want to totally erase it from history. All of the Lomachenko fans, all of the Lomachenko fans, okay, they want to erase that Salido fight from history. And I'm going to tell you why that fight is so important. Because Orlando Salido was able to get inside, frustrate, and really manhandle Lomachenko in that fight. You can argue, oh yeah, he's doing a lot of dirty things, whatever. I mean, he did what he was allowed to do, what he was able to do, and he was able to really disrupt and break up Lomachenko's rhythm. I saw Luke Campbell do that in points in the fight. When he got close, he was able to muscle Lomachenko a little bit. But again, a lot of these guys were able to do things for short period of times, but they just couldn't sustain it because they were lacking in, physical attributes. Like Campbell just doesn't have the quickness or the speed to to deal with a Lomachenko for a 12-round fight. When Lomachenko switches gears, Campbell couldn't match the gear. He couldn't match that intensity. He couldn't, consistently match that intensity. So there were points in that Campbell fight where I thought Campbell made Lomachenko very uncomfortable, landed some good body shots up close. So, in Linares too, and Pedraza had moments. The Linares fight was dead even on the judges' scorecards up until the point of the stoppage in the 10th round. And this was a Linares that most people thought was shot. And this was a Pedraza that went the distance with Lomachenko that Tank Davis starched. So you have to question if this is Lomachenko at his pinnacle. I'm starting to see a little bit of slippage. Not a lot, but a little bit of slippage with Lomachenko. Whereas Teofimo Lopez, you could argue that he's in his physical prime. Now, again, he's probably still going to get better because he's young, 23 years old. I think Lomachenko is about 32-ish, 33. So let me double check. I think let me just double check Lomachenko's age here. So I can just take he's 32. So he's starting to enter that, peak where he's, like Teofimo Lopez is going to get better, whereas Lomachenko's probably not. So he's close to turning the corner right now. I'm not saying he has turned the corner, but he's close to turning the corner here. So again, Linares, Campbell, they had moments where they made Lomachenko uncomfortable. And Orlando Salido had many moments where he made Lomachenko uncomfortable. And he was able to sustain it throughout the whole course of the fight. And because of it, he won the decision. And credit to Lomachenko, he finished the fight strong, had a huge 12th round where he hurt Salido. And I thought that he dug down deep in that round. And because of that, I gave him a lot of credit. But the one thing I'm going to go back to that Salido fight, and I'm not going to erase it from history, is because Lomachenko never proved to me that if someone muscled him, manhandled him for a full 12-round fight, he hasn't proved to me that he has the ability to deal with that style, being put under those conditions for a full 12 rounds. Now, you got a guy like Teofimo Lopez, who even Vasyl Lomachenko said, I was watching ESPN Plus. They have this series called Blood, Sweat, and Tears, where they're almost like a 24/7 version of Teofimo Lopez versus Vasyl Lomachenko. It's like a 24/7 version, like they're previewing and promoting the fight, whatever. And Vasyl Lomachenko's looking at Teofimo Lopez on camera, looking at film at Teofimo Lopez, and even he said this guy's biceps and triceps are 3 times the size of mine. And again, this isn't always about size, but when you have two guys who have extraordinary skill, but one guy's bigger, arguably faster, and definitely hits harder and is definitely physically stronger, then of course size is going to play into that. And once again, one test that Lomachenko has never passed, one question that has never been answered in my mind, and this is just my opinion, what happens when he gets put into that same situation, when he gets taken into that dark room, again, as Teddy Atlas likes to say, when he gets taken into that dark room that Orlando Salido took him in and keeps him there for 12 rounds, which is what Orlando Salido did. He's never answered the question, can he walk out of that dark room after being in there for 12 rounds, which he was in there for 12 rounds with Orlando Salido. And he very well could quite possibly be in that dark room once again against a bigger, younger, more dangerous Teofimo Lopez. What if he gets taken to that? And everyone's sitting there saying, yeah, skill, he can move, this and that. But he's not going to go through this whole fight being unscathed. He's going to get touched. And what happens when he gets touched? What happens when he gets touched? And if you're looking at this fight and you're expecting Teofimo Lopez to just fold up his tent like some of these other guys did, fold up his tent and say, you know what, fuck this, I'm going home. No, Teofimo Lopez is not built like that. He's not built like that. So what happens if Teofimo Lopez does not say no mas, does not take his tent, fold it up, throw it back up in the knapsack, and walk away? What happens if that doesn't happen? What happens if that doesn't happen? Linares landed the right hand. Pedraza landed the right hand. Campbell was able to get inside and have some success out-muscling Lomachenko up against the ropes, landing body shots. What happens if Teofimo Lopez does those same things, which he very well could do, which he very well may do to a greater, more successful extent? How does Lomachenko survive under that heat? Because he didn't survive under that heat against Orlando Salido. Never answered that question. Going back to a show that I did on the Ringside Reporter podcast when I was assessing Andre Ward, when he was coming up, and I questioned, never said that he was a weak-minded guy, but I always had that question in the back of my mind about what's going to happen if he's in a rough and tumble, gritty fight. And when he fought Edison Miranda, and this was an Andre Ward that I've seen up until that point, mostly out finesse guys, mostly out box guys, mostly use movement. But then he jumped into the phone booth with a tough, gritty Edison Miranda, and he took that guy's soul that night. He took Edison Miranda's soul that night, which I think Orlando Salido took Vasyl Lomachenko's soul that night. And then you say, well, Beeb, after that fight, Lomachenko won the vacant featherweight title in his very next fight. Okay, but he fought a guy like Gary Russell who didn't take him into that dark room. No one's ever taken him back into that dark room. Whereas Andre Ward was in that dark room. Sergey Kovalev took Andre Ward into that dark room when he knocked him down early in the fight, when he was up on the scorecards early in the fight. Andre Ward walked out of that dark room, slammed that fucking door, and he said, I got this. I've never seen Lomachenko have to come back from adversity like that. Then you can say, well, Beeb, neither is Teofimo Lopez. And you're right. But, and this is a big but, is Vasyl Lomachenko that guy that's going to take him there? Is Vasyl Lomachenko going to take him there? Because Vasyl Lomachenko is more of a finesse guy. He's a guy that outmaneuvers you, outworks you. He doesn't out-muscle you. He doesn't beat you down like Teofimo Lopez is going into this fight. He wants to hurt Lomachenko. He wants to knock him out. He's got a chip on his shoulder the size of friggin' Delaware right now. He is so amped up for this fight. And to me, Lomachenko seems very dismissive of Teofimo Lopez. And admittedly, he said, this guy's got biceps and triceps 3 times the size of me. So in the back of his mind, he's saying to himself, possibly size this, he's thinking about the size of this guy. He may be concerned about it. He may be concerned about it. And mark my words. Mark my words. I think Teofimo Lopez is going to take Vasyl Lomachenko into that dark room. This fight is going to be tactical for as long as Teofimo Lopez wants to be tactical. But the big question here is not when, but not if, excuse me. Strike that last word. Not if, but when this does turn into a fight, when both guys go into that dark room, okay? And the key locks that dark room, and the key is thrown out. When that key is thrown out, and both guys are locked into that dark room, and the only way out is someone's got to kick that fucking door down to get out of it. Who is going to leave that dark room at the end of the night this Saturday night? I'm going to answer that question for you. It's going to be Teofimo Lopez. It's going to be Teofimo Lopez. It's going to be Teofimo Lopez. Wood says he's got Lopez 8th round knockout. I'm right on board with you. I'm right on board with you. And, I'm going to respond to a comment to Andres Kiana. Nah, I think Loma's going to do what Mayweather did to Canelo. Okay, here's the difference between Mayweather and Canelo when you try to compare this fight to that fight. Mayweather had a significant speed, quickness advantage over Canelo. Canelo couldn't match the foot speed nor the hand speed. Okay? Couldn't do it. Mayweather had too many advantages. He was a better counterpuncher. He had better boxing skills. When you look at this fight, the same advantages that Mayweather had over Canelo, Lomachenko does not have them over Teofimo Lopez. If you were to break down boxing ability, right? Let's break it down. Boxing ability, that went to Mayweather. Speed, that went to Mayweather. Ring IQ, that went to Mayweather. What could you give to Canelo? Arguably power, right? But when you break down this fight, speed, you can make an argument that Lopez is faster. Okay? Reaction time, defensive, offensive reflexes, and then people like to look at ring IQ, and automatically the guy that moves a lot, the guy that boxes from the outside, the guy who has a more finesse type guy, usually the finesse guys, the guys who use a lot of movement, the guys in other words, the guys who appear to be doing more, volume guys, whatever. Those guys automatically, this guy's the better boxer. This guy's got the better ring IQ. No, Roberto Duran, who was a swarmer, Marvin Hagler, these guys were swarmers. These guys were workman-like guys who were smart in their own right, but they weren't the finesse guys like a Sugar Ray Leonard was. Now, are you going to sit there and say that from a boxing IQ standpoint that Sugar Ray Leonard was a much better fighter than than Marvin Hagler, than Roberto Duran. No, ring IQ is being able to take your abilities and what you can do well, formulate your own game plan, and be able to execute that game plan. It's all X's and O's. That's what ring IQ is. Saying to yourself, well, I'm going in there with a guy who's a counter puncher. How am I going to beat this guy? Shorten up the distance, throw feints, volume, smother him so he doesn't have time to react to my punches, and being able to execute that and having the mental strength and the physical abilities to execute that. That's all it is. Like, people sit there and say, oh, well, Lomachenko's got a higher ring IQ. Why? Why? Why does he have a higher ring IQ than Teofimo Lopez? In my opinion, Teofimo Lopez's reaction time is a great weapon against that supposed ring IQ. Okay? That's a great weapon against that ring IQ. So everyone likes to sit there and look and, watch Teofimo Lopez beat guys. And when you look at a guy who's flashy, like I said, a lot of movement, throws a lot of punches, automatically that guy, this guy is a master boxer because what he's doing looks flamboyant, looks pretty, looks like he's doing more. But at the end of the day, all that gets thrown out the window once Teofimo Lopez is able to decode that, to pick up on those movements, to be able to react so quickly to those mistakes that Lomachenko does make. He will move side to side, but he will stop in the center of that pocket for a split second and then throw the flurry. Does not come in from the side. Again, he can be manhandled on the inside. Salido did it. Campbell did it. There are some weaknesses there that Lopez can exploit because, again, he has the physical and natural gifts to exploit those. This guy, Teofimo Lopez, is a phenom. This guy's a phenom. You heard it here first. I don't care he's a phenom. He's a phenom. In 3 years, this guy's going to be the best fighter in the sport, Teofimo Lopez. Mark my words. He's going to be the best fighter in the sport, mark my words. Mark my words. This guy, Teofimo Lopez, is going to be the best fighter in the sport, no questions asked. And he's going to win this fight in an emphatic fashion. Emphatic fashion. No disrespect to Lopez. No disrespect to Lomachenko. Of course, we're not going to disrespect Lopez. No disrespect to Lomachenko. But this is a guy that he's just going to meet at the wrong time on the wrong night. And he's going to lose. He's going to get hit with that right hand. That same right hand that Pedraza landed, as I said earlier in the video, the same right hand that Linares landed and knocked him down. Question is, does he get up from it when he gets knocked down? Does he recover from it? Does he recover from it? Same thing with Campbell. Campbell smothered him. Smothered him on the inside. Had him up against the ropes at certain points in that fight. But again, he couldn't sustain it. Couldn't sustain it. Like Orlando Salido did. Orlando Salido, you can say what you want about him. He was an extremely highly conditioned athlete, extremely strong-willed athlete. This was a guy. I interviewed Orlando Salido a long time ago. Shout out to Joe Surratt. Got me that connect. I interviewed Salido a long time ago. This was a guy who became a world champion. But if you look at this guy's career early on, this guy had tons of losses. This was a guy who had to fight his way out of poverty. This was a guy that, was not going to roll over. And I suspect, and I strongly suspect, and I'm going to stand on this, that Teofimo has that same mentality. But on top of having that mentality, he has the physical gifts to amplify that. To amplify that. And I still have that question in the back of my mind. What's going to happen if the fight gets tough for Lomachenko? What's going to happen when he gets out-muscled on the inside? Again, the dark room. It's going to happen when he goes into that dark room and he's not, and Teofimo Lopez is going to be standing in the doorway as he tries to get out of that dark room, and he's going to prevent him from getting out of that dark room like Orlando Salido did. He turned that into a dogfight. Okay? But if Lomachenko goes into this fight saying, this is a boxing match, and Lopez says, no, this is not a boxing match. This is a fucking fight. This is a fight, motherfucker. We're going to war. What if this fight turns into a war? Is Lomachenko built to deal with that? Ask yourself that question. Ask yourself that question. Teofimo Lopez, in my opinion, beats all those guys that Lomachenko beat on his resume. Takes them out. Beats them all. I'm going to make a very bold statement, and I'm going to argue that Richard Comey beats Pedraza, beats Linares, and beats Campbell. That's how high I hold Richard Comey. I thought Richard Comey beat Robert Easter. Thought he won that fight. I had him winning that fight. I thought you can make an argument he got robbed. I'm not going to say it was a robbery. It was a close fight, but I thought he outworked Robert Easter. I thought he out-muscled him. I thought he beat him up on the inside. Richard Comey's no joke. Richard Comey's no joke. Diego Magdaleno, he's a solid guy too. There's only really two recognizable names on Teofimo Lopez's record. We're not going to argue against that. We're not going to argue. We are not going to compare resumes. We're not going to take away anything away from Lomachenko, because when we get this victory on Saturday night, we don't want it to be diminished. Because I know what's going to happen. When we get this victory on Saturday night and we're cashing our betting slip on Saturday night, we don't want to hear anyone say this was not the best version of Lomachenko. We don't want to hear that. We're not ready for that. We're not ready. We'll be ready for that, but we're not going to be ready to accept that. In other words, we're not going to be ready to accept that. We're just not. We're not going to have that. So let's take a look at these odds. If you're a betting man, and you like Teofimo Lopez as much as I do, better put that bet in now, because the odds are starting to drop. Teofimo Lopez is a plus 250. A week ago, he was as high as a plus 285. So the odds are dropping. So Lomachenko's a minus 350. So if you like Teofimo Lopez, put that bet in now. Because once the weigh-in happens, and you look at Teofimo Lopez matching up against Vasyl Lomachenko at that weigh-in, and you just look at this is going to be a welterweight versus a featherweight. When you look at that stature, when you look at the size difference, when you just take a look at these two guys and you say to yourself, wow, Lomachenko looks that much smaller. There's going to be a lot of late money on Teofimo Lopez. There's going to be a lot of late money on Teofimo Lopez. So if you like Teofimo Lopez, take that plus 250 right now and you bet that 250. Beating the odds of Beeb is endorsing. Our pick is going to be Teofimo Lopez by 8th round stoppage. Right, I'm in total agreement with Wood. And I know there's going to be these Lopez fans. Keep saying Lopez fans. I know there's going to be these Lomachenko fans. Beeb, you're shitting on Lomachenko. You're underestimating Lomachenko. You diminish. No, no, no. There's sometimes when you just look at a fight, just like I said, Tyson Fury, Vladimir Klitschko. These same things are being said. What did Tyson Fury be? Look at Vladimir Klitschko's resume. Look at the experience. I got my 4-1 and I put it on Tyson Fury back in 2013, and everyone fucking laughed at me. Everyone laughed at me. But I bet that fight solely on the eye test. And I'm gonna say something right now. The greatest determining factor in me picking Lopez in this fight has nothing to do with accomplishments, has nothing to do with resume. I'm going to make another bold statement here. Win, lose, or draw, in my opinion, I think Lomachenko is going into the Boxing Hall of Fame when it's all said and done. Being able to accomplish what he accomplished in 15 fights, fastest guy to win, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, correct me if I'm wrong, fastest guy to win 3 world titles in 15 fights. He's going in the Hall of Fame. There's no question about it. So I'm not diminishing Lomachenko. I'm saying he's going in the Hall. He's a Hall of Fame fighter today. Today, he's a Hall of Fame fighter, in my opinion. He's a fucking Hall of Fame fighter, in my opinion, today, based off of his resume. So I'm not shitting on his resume. He fought good guys. He didn't duck anybody. He didn't. So I'm going to sit there. I'm going to sit there. Thank you, Sean. He said he's tied with Tanaka. Again, that's why I defer to the chat sometimes, because I don't have stats in front of me all the time. Sometimes I don't want to make this video about me going to Google every 5 seconds. So that's why I like to refer to the guys. And thank you so much for that, Sean. Tied. Great. So again, this isn't about me saying Lomachenko's overrated, he's this, he's that, blah, blah, blah. This has nothing to do with me diminishing Lomachenko, because on Saturday night when we're cashing our betting slip, we don't want people to tell us, no, Broner is definitely not a Hall of Famer. Never. No, he's not, Wood. To answer your question, Wood in the chat, no, he's not. So anyways, this is not about diminishing Lomachenko in any way. In any way. But once again, this is the Cobra versus the mongoose. Okay? This is the guy who has that lethal punch that can incapacitate somebody in a split second. You make a mistake against this guy, Teofimo Lopez, for a millisecond, and he will capitalize on it, where there's never been any opponent that Lomachenko has been able to fight and that's had to fight that is dangerous as this guy. So I'm basing my analysis 100% solely on the eye test here. Nothing to do with resume, nothing to do with accomplishments, nothing to do with experience. Obviously, they both have 15 fights, but without question, Lomachenko has fought more solid guys consistently throughout the course of those 15 fights. We're not going to dispute any of that. We're not going to sit there and say, oh, Rigondeaux is too. No, you guys called for that Rigondeaux fight. And you accused Lomachenko for ducking Rigondeaux. And then when he won, all of a sudden, Rigondeaux was too. No, we're not doing any of that. Gary Russell, another great victory. We're not diminishing anything. We're not looking to diminish anything that Lomachenko has done. We're not going to do that. This isn't a video about shitting on Lomachenko. I'll never do that. I have the utmost respect for Lomachenko. Without question, we're not going to shit on Lomachenko. But again, this is the wrong place, wrong time against the wrong guy. That's all this is. That's all this is. That's all this is. This is based solely on what I see. When you walk into a gym, sometimes you just watch a guy fight and you say, wow, there's just something special about this kid. That's the feeling I get when I watch Teofimo Lopez. I'm watching this guy and I'm just seeing I'm seeing him throw a 6-inch hook. A lead 6-inch hook. Like boom. And I'm just seeing guys drop and their heads like, oh. I mean, there's just things like, I don't know, man. This guy is just extraordinary to me. All right, so again, Teofimo Lopez at the plus 250. Vasyl Lomachenko minus 350. Again, we're taking the underdog here. We're taking Teofimo Lopez. We're gonna cash that bet and slip Saturday night. And I'm doing a live fight cast for this. We're all gonna watch this fight live. We're gonna score it live, all of us, like we always do. We're gonna sit there. We're gonna hope that there's gonna be a lot of participation in the chat. You guys let me know how you're scoring the fight, like you always do. You guys let me know your opinion on what you're seeing, because this is going to be this is going to be a great fight. Without question, this is going to be a great fight. I can't wait. I'm excited for it. And, it is what it is. It is what it is. And I'm looking forward to it. That's all I got for now. Talk to you guys soon. Enjoy your day, and make sure you check out the Ringside Reporter podcast later this evening, 7 p.m. Eastern time. Beeb is out. I will talk to you all soon. Have a great day. And I challenge anyone, you tell me, guys can search YouTube, search the internet. This was the best Lomachenko Lopez breakdown ever. Ever. Because no one's breaking it down. You get back, Corey Lee's boxing says, what do you get back if you put 100 on Teo? You get your $100 back plus 250. So you get 350 back. It's a no-brainer. But again, there's never been. Someone give me a couple super chats in there, man. I'm giving you guys are going. If you guys listen to the betting, listen to me, you guys are going to make some money. Before I exit this video, I mean, someone give me a couple super chats in here, man. I think this video deserves some super chats. No one else is doing an actual extensive breakdown like this. This is like almost an hour-long breakdown. I'm making you guys money. At least someone come up with some super chats here, man, before I leave, man. Give me something here. But anyways, this is the best breakdown that you guys have seen. Make sure you check out the Ringside Reporter podcast. Eric's going to give his take. He's going the other way. And all I'm hearing from Eric, and again, this is no disrespect to Eric. Love Eric like a brother. We disagree a lot. But all I'm hearing from Eric is resume and experience and boxing IQ. Which is, again, how do you assess boxing IQ? Just because a guy fights a certain way and has it. Thank you, Corey. Appreciate it. Just because he says dark room, awesome breakdown. Just because he his style looks more sophisticated and it's more of a aesthetically pleasing style to watch. That doesn't mean that the guy's got a higher boxing IQ. It's all about execution. It's all about coming up with the right game plan on the night. And I think Teofimo Lopez will have the right game plan on the night. That's just my opinion. So this is a no-brainer here. This is a no-brainer in my opinion. I'm going with Lopez here. I'm very confident about that. All right. Make sure you check us out 7 p.m. Eastern time. Talk to y'all soon. Have a great day. Enjoy the day. And stay safe as always. Peace out, everybody.